call the meeting to order for July 2nd, Commission meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Sorry for the short delay in getting started. Commissioner Rick Meyer is at a conference, but she will be joining us on Teams for the meeting.
Good morning.
Good morning. Is there any anybody that shows up, please sign in. And remember, if you come to the microphone, there's a sign-up sheet over there in the corner. And if you come to the microphone to talk, please say and spell your name for the recorder. Any public comment under the jurisdiction of the commission? Any public comment? Any public comment? Do you have anything?
I don't.
I'll make two announcements. As of right now, we will not have a commission meeting next week, but that could change. And if it does, the agenda will be posted Monday at the latest. And then July 16th, this meeting will be held down at Headwaters Livestock Auction. It will be a regular commission meeting at 10 o'clock at Headwaters.
And we are closed this Friday.
And we are closed this Friday, that's right. I have one other public comment.
So your meeting...
Please come to the microphone,
Yes.
just so people can hear.
My name's Alan Wright, ALANWRIGHT.
Thank you.
So my question is because I really haven't been paying much attention to what's been going on. Matter of fact, this is the first time since this was opened up that I've ever been to a meeting. So, why are you having your commission meeting down there?
We are trying to have it on a fairly regular basis so those residents down there can attend and talk to us, because all of our meetings are here and it's hard for some of them to get all the way up here. So we will do this on a semi-regular basis.
And I guess I do have one since I'm up here. Forest Service is working on the Crow Creek Road.
Yes.
So is Robert County, are they going to assist on some of their Forest Service roads on this side of the mountain?
No.
Or are they going to leave them in the same?
It's my understanding we do not do any maintenance on Forest Service roads.
No, but are they going to do some repairs on this side, because they're on the other side of the mountain?
I don't know.
Since they're going through all of that procedure?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because the roads up there are like
Yeah.
third world rating
Yeah.
at best.
So no, we're glad they're doing Crow Creek because I know it's really bad. But other than that, I have not received
haven't
any
heard
other
anything.
notices.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I have a public comment. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Commissioner Randolph. I was just going to add that I believe Indian Creek, they're doing Indian Creek after Crow Creek, is what they had said last week. And so I think they're doing Indian Creek to the boundary, or the Forest Service boundary to, I can't remember the exact, but they are starting on Indian Creek after Crow Creek is done.
Thank you for that, adding that.
Yeah.
I have one other public comment if there's nothing else. As many of you know, Bob Masola passed away last week. His funeral is today. It's actually right now. Bob worked for the county for many, many years. He was very involved in the rodeo and fair. He was inducted into the Montana Cowboy Hall of Fame in 2014. I met Bob at a branding the very first week I moved here. His warmth and certainly a sense of humor ensured me that I had moved to the right place. Many of us have great memories and stories of Bob. Please keep his family in your thoughts and prayers. And the Public Works office is closed today so that they can attend his funeral. So that will be, Public Works is closed today, they'll be open tomorrow. Any other public comment? Okay. We will open the public hearing for the resolution to adopt Broadwater County fiscal 25-26 annual budget. Debbie Kelly, Bill, I don't know how you guys are doing this.
I think he's doing his first and then I agree with the
Okay.
resolution.
I didn't hear what she said.
She said you can go first.
We didn't rehearse this. Debbie Kelly. Debbie is with an IE and Kelly is with an EY. Finance officer. And Bill's he put together a presentation of all our efforts in accumulating budgets, and he put it in a very nice presentation, colorful, much more prettier than my typical black and white reports that are just dry and bleh. So he's going to do that, and then any comments, I'll read the resolution and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
It's yours, Bill.
Thanks, Debbie. Good morning, everyone. This is Bill Jarocki, Jarocki. I'm the County Administrative Officer. I'm going to show you in a minute a PowerPoint presentation. I did adapt one of the slides just now, so I won't be showing that, but I'll be explaining the information on it. My job as County Administrative Officer is to guide our departments through the budget process and to monitor the budget throughout the year. This is actually the second full budget that I've been able to work on, and it is the product of many hours of work. I want to compliment the Board of Commissioners, all of the department heads, and especially the Finance Office, Debbie Kelly and Michelle Beebe, for all their help in working with me to put together the information you're going to see this morning. If, Daylene, were you able to produce the handouts for the budget roll-up? Okay. So anybody who's in the audience, if you want to take one of the handouts, it's called the Revenue Expenditure Budget Roll-Up. It's secure for insomnia, but I'm going to do the best I can to guide you through that. So let me go to the PowerPoint. You won't see me, but you'll see the slides. Okay, the first slide that you see is Broadwater County Fiscal Year 2026 Budget Presentation. Is that on the screen right now?
Yes, it is, Bill.
Okay, thank you. Again, I'm Bill Jarocki, the County Administrative Officer. Today is July 2nd, and it's actually the second day of our fiscal year, so we're just slightly late getting the budget formally adopted, but we had enough momentum from the previous fiscal year that we can get going. Okay, so I promised the commissioners that I would not end up at the ground level, which is what all the detail is, but that we'd have a presentation this morning that was at 20,000 feet. But in order to get to 20,000 feet, I need you all to understand how we build the budget. What you see on the screen is the two sides of budget documents that are prepared for every department and every program. There are 24 of these detailed budgets. On the left side, that panel shows the revenue page. And here we identify for every department what their specific revenues are. Many of our departments have revenue sources that are available to them through grants and contracts. And so what we do is we itemize and specifically build a revenue sheet for each one of our departments. On the right-hand side, or the lower right-hand side, is our expenditure panel. And these are built in the same spreadsheet, and everybody is able to switch from revenues to expenditures. On the expenditure side, we itemize all of the expected expenditures for the year. We show the actual and budgeted expenses for previous years, and now we're up to, I think we'll have 6 years of history by the time we get done with fiscal year 25's closure. And we can look at all the ways we spend money and what the patterns of expenditures are and become more accurate in how we predict our need for expenses for the for the subsequent year. Our goal is to have an expense-driven budget that is very accurate, in that we do not put into our budget all the money that's available, only the money that we need. And so the other point I wanted to make about these particular sheets is that we feed information into these worksheets from other spreadsheets. There are hundreds of connections between the information that our finance office has on personnel expenditures, how they automatically relate to each one of these department budget sheets, and then these go into the budget roll-up. So the budget roll-up sheet that everybody has in the room is a synthesis of all of these individual sheets. There are hundreds of linkages throughout our Excel spreadsheets. This is the budget summary roll-up. In this sheet, we have basically, we're starting to move up in elevation from ground level to maybe 1,000 feet. And here we have every department, what the total expenses are, what the personnel expenses are as a portion of the total expenses, as well as the operation and maintenance expenses as a portion of the total expenses. Operation and maintenance expenses are everything that offices need besides people to serve the citizens of Broadwater County. Following that summary, you have how much money we get from floating mills property tax, which I'll explain in a few minutes, the number of mills for the departments that receive floating mills, property tax that is permitted by statute or is voted on by the public that is usable by different departments, then other sources of revenue, which are grants and contracts and other fees and things like that, followed by entitlement share, which is state money that is transferred to every county in the state. PILT, which is short for payment in lieu of taxes. Those are federal funds that are given to every county because the federal government does not pay property taxes, but they're making a contribution to the counties that have public lands for the impact that the federal government has on those lands. So we use a little bit of that money in the budget. And then the final column to the far right looks like a lime green color. That is the general fund cash reserve. And we use the general fund cash reserve when we don't have enough money from all of the other sources. I'm happy to say this year we're utilizing $614,000 of the general fund cash reserve. That is about $300,000 less than we used last year, so we're moving in the right direction. For us to have a sustainable budget, we really don't want to have to use that cash balance, the cash reserve balance at all. So the roll-up, I'm going to digest for you, but in bright yellow at the very bottom of the page, you see a yellow box that says, to the left of it says FY26 total revenues needed. Because we are an expense-driven budget, we first ask how much money do we need to have in order to perform our services. Then we look for the revenue to get it. And that amount is $10,353,233.45. Okay, so let me give you some fast facts about the budget. As I mentioned, the budget is expense driven. It's not based on spending all available revenue. So we're not saying we have all the money we can get, let's spend it. We're basically saying, how much do we need to spend in order to do our jobs? And so we're expense driven. That means if we don't need to use all the monies available, we won't. And I think in the future, we have a better chance for that than we have today because we are using part of the cash balance in order to fund this budget. The projected expenditures are $10,353,000, as I mentioned. This is a decrease from last year's budget. The FY25 budget was over 14 million, is $14.9 million. The reason it was $14.9 million is we had a significant aeronautics project at the airport. It's over $4 million. We brought that money in. We expect to have that spent through this summer, so we did not include that as a project expense in this budget. And in addition, we had decreases in several of the department budgets. The planning office has decreased their budget upcoming year by over $10,000. The airport is $4.7 million less than they were last year. The commissioner's budget is over $13,000 less than last year. Civil Defense, the Department of Emergency Services, that budget is down by $7,000. Our facilities budget, which is the money that we commit for all of our buildings and taking care of them and all of that, that is down to almost $83,000. I should mention that we did something very innovative last year, is we consolidated all of our facility costs in one department under Bill Malone, instead of having each individual department take care of their own facility costs. This allows us to economize on purchase of materials for maintaining our courthouse, the Flynn building, public health building, other buildings that we have. And it also allows us to see more completely how much money we're spending for all of these facilities, and to look at ways to decrease our costs over time. And you can see that by consolidating, we've seen an $83,000 decrease in our need for funds in this upcoming year budget. We also have a decrease this year of the combined efforts to control weeds and to eradicate mosquitoes, down $108,000 from last year's budgets. Now, one of the things that you may want to think about is if we are getting more accuracy in how we predict our budgets, we should see a tightening of the need for money in subsequent years. And this is some examples of how that is happening. My philosophy is that we do the most work at the least cost and most people for the longest period of time. We are moving in the right direction. The final thing, fastback, I want to share with you is that for every dollar that is spent in the county budget, 60% goes to personnel costs and 40% goes to operation and maintenance costs. That 60-40 split is not the same in every department, but across the board it's a 60-40 split. Most of our cost is for personnel. This year we gave our employees a 2.5% cost of living adjustment. That has an impact on that 60% side of our budget. And so we are personnel heavy, I suppose, but we are not over heavy. In other words, we run a very lean operation, and we intend to keep our personnel costs down over time until the county grows at such a rate that we have to add employees. So, but this is the split for every dollar spent, to 60-40 split. For fiscal year 26, our budget expenses, again, are $10.35 million. This graphic shows the expenses by department. On the upper right side, you can see that 35% of the overall budget goes to public safety. If you combine public safety with legal services, which is another way to think about law enforcement, between those two, it's 41%. If you add the courts, we're pushing 45-46% of our budget goes to law enforcement. 11% of our budget is for solid waste, 10% for roads and bridges, And then down the line, each of those departments that have more than $1,000 in expenses are represented. At the upper left part of the graphic, you'll see other programs, $548,000. That's all of the programs and departments that spend less than $100,000 each. And so you can see that public safety is a big part of what we do in county government. Public works are together the second biggest piece at 21% of our operations as demonstrated in the expenses. On the revenue side, the way we pay for that $10.35 million is to bring in revenues to match. And going around the horn on this thing, going upper right, property tax from what are called floating mills, which I'll explain in the next slide, is 25% of our budget. So it isn't the only property tax that a resident in Broadwater County pays, but it's the property tax that they pay for the support of general county government. And it's $2.5, almost $2.6 million in floating mills property tax. That means that all of the rest of the money that we have coming in is 75% of our revenue budget. We get money from property taxes that are permitted by the state or by local vote, that's 7%. State entitlement share is 7%. We're bringing in less than 1% in federal payment in lieu of taxes. As I mentioned, the cash reserve bringing in $614,000 this year to meet all of our expenses. All of the other source revenues are 55% of our budget, $5.7 million. And that is money that we are going to receive for housing prisoners. It's money that we receive in motor vehicle licensing fees. It's fees that are collected in our clerk's office, clerk and recorder office. Fees and other charges and contracts for services that we undertake. For example, we have a contract with City of Townsend for law enforcement, so that City of Townsend does not have to operate its own police department, which would be more expensive than the contract they spend with us. I want to take a moment to talk about floating mills so that you can get a better idea for this revenue source, which is 25% of our budget, how it actually comes to us. And I'll kind of walk you through these 4 different areas of this slide. And the very left, item number 1, Broadwater County has a total property value of $1.6 billion. You think about everything that you look at as you drive through the county has value associated with it. And everybody who owns that property owns some portion of the $1.6 billion of property value. But that is what is estimated by the Department of Revenue of the property value in our county. I love this idea of $1.6 billion for Broadwater County because when we start talking about billionaires and how much money they have, imagine if you were a 1.6 billionaire and you owned everything in the county, now you have an idea of what $1 billion and $1.6 billion feels like or looks like. Okay, so let's talk about the second item. The second item, it says that property taxes are paid on the taxable value of the total property value. The taxable value is percentage of the total value, and that taxable value is determined by the Department of Revenue. In fiscal year 26, we use the 2025 taxable value. So this is the value that the Department of Revenue reported to us last August and September. And they said the taxable value is $27,662, $662,869. That's how much taxable value you have. So even though we have property value of 1.6 billion, we don't get to tax it. We don't get to tax a portion of it. And every type of property has its own percentage of taxable value. Residential is different than agriculture is different than commercial, etc. When you add that all together, we can apply our taxes on $27 million, $27.6 million. Here's the other thing. Many people look at Broadwater County in the past decade, one of the fastest growing counties in the state, and said, man, we got all this new value, how come we don't have all these new taxes? Well, it's because of this phenomenon of taxable value versus total value. In 2025, our new taxable value was only $993,000. So there was value coming into the county, but the taxable value was only $993,000. From that, we get to apply our floating mills. And let's go on to item number three. Item number three, floating mills. Floating mills is a Montana concept. It's actually a Montana construct, if you would. And I'm going to explain it in a way that I understand it, so that maybe you can too. The floating mills can be thought of as the number of units that are allowed to be calculated against the taxable value. So taxable value of 27.6 million, we can apply tax units to that taxable value to get tax dollars. And that generates property tax dollars for the county budget. The number of units changes from year to year, and the reason it changes is this kind of floating idea, is that there's a limit on the number of mills that we can charge against taxable value. And the mill number changes, the number of mills we have changes, because we're limited to half of the 3-year average of the rate of inflation as a growth in our budget. And what that means is that if value increases dramatically, we are still limited to new dollars of basically half the rate of inflation, which works out to be 1.63%. So even if we had tremendous growth, we can tax new value, but once that value is on the books, the amount that we can add to our dollars in the budget declines a little bit. So if you go to item number 4, we have, in this year's budget, in floating mills, we have 92.47 mills. That will generate, against a taxable value of 27 million, it will generate 2.557, almost $2.6 million for our budget. That $2.6 million is 25% of our total budget. And so this year, it only gave us an additional $169,000 in property tax. When we give our employees, which are 60% of our budget, a 2.5% COLA, it eats into that 169 pretty readily. And so you can see that we don't get a lot of money in floating mills, and the growth in floating mills is limited by the rate of inflation. In fact, that 169,000 new dollars represented 1.63% of our entire revenue budget. That's a small number. How do we increase our property tax revenues to the county? Well, the best way to do that is get large commercial industrial complexes built in our county. When we have more value, then we get to spread the property taxes we need among more value, and everybody's taxes theoretically could go down a little bit. because we're still not allowed to grow that quickly. I hope this idea of property tax floating mills helps you understand this part of our budget in context to the other 75% of money that we raise. The good news is that your department heads and the commissioners are working very hard to leverage the 25% of the budget to get 75% of the monies in. So in the summary roll-up, what we do in the middle of this page is have kind of beige columns. The first column shows property tax floating mills. This demonstrates how much of each budget comes from floating mills that have been assigned to that department. In the very middle epicenter of this page is a highlight that shows $879,000 of floating mills goes to public safety. There should be no mistake made that our county commission is supporting public safety with floating mills. The public safety department receives 34.4% of all of the floating mills available, and the floating mills that we have, which is 92 floating mills, they get 31.81 mills. The largest segment of floating mills goes to public safety, followed by our facilities budget, followed by legal services. Other departments get smaller amounts of floating mills, which we use to help balance, to balance their expenditure needs with revenues. And so there are some departments that get floating mills even though they have fees they generate, etc. But as I said, 24.71 and 25% budget is floating mills, 75% comes from everywhere else. So everybody seems to be awake. We have, I'm ready for questions, but basically what we have is an expense budget and a revenue budget to match up at $10.3+ million, $10.35 million. It's less than last year's budget. We will continue to strive to get accuracy in our expenditure budgets, keep our costs down going into the future. Our next steps in August, in the first couple weeks of August, we will begin to meet with our department heads to go over the performance of the FY25 budgets. And we'll talk about what happened in this fiscal year that just ended a couple days ago. How accurate were we? What do we need to look for in the future? And what ideas we can have for leveraging the resources we have to provide better services for everybody. That's our next step, and I'll be doing some other budget analysis throughout the year and making that available to the commissioners as we go. I'm happy to stand for any questions you may have.
Are there any comments from the public or questions? This is part of the public hearing, so feel free to.
Madam Chair.
Of course.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I'm Angie Paulson, Broward County Clerk and Recorder, PAULSEN. Just a comment on here for, I believe, those who this is, so thank you, Bill, for the presentation. He speaks a lot of finance jargon, and so for maybe those of us who do not have a degree in finance or those things, when we talk about the floating mills, that is not the only let's see, income. So there's, if you look on this paper, the fiscal year 26 expense and revenue budget summary roll-up, you have the property tax, the floating mills, and I see the general fund cash reserve. So the numbers seem maybe a little bit, I don't know. I would like to see a percentage of if all those were combined with the total percentages, and maybe it's on this sheet and I'm not seeing it. But I think what Bill
emphasized was that this is an expense-driven budget. So if I was, the public looking at this form, I would go to the total expenses, expenditures, because that is more accurate as to what each department is spending. Because, we can look at the floating mills, what is allocated to each department, and then you can also look at the property tax. But if you have to add that all together, the floating mills, the property tax, and the general fund cash reserve, that's the income going into each of the departments. So I would urge people looking at this to look at the total expenditures. Does that make sense? Bill, does that sound accurate? Am I missing something on that?
No, I think you made an excellent point. Every department starts out with the total expenses, and then the sources of your revenue are really shown in detail on the budget worksheets that I explained at the very beginning, which is kind of that ground level of detail. I would like to make those budget detail sheets available to the public, as well as the roll-up on our website, so they can look at every budget and see what the revenues are and the expenditures. In your case, in the clerk and recorder's office, you have significant income from fee revenue that is recognized on the budget worksheets, but not necessarily as obvious on this roll-up. So that's part of the problem with summarizing a lot of data, is that trying to figure out what is the best snapshot that I can give you that explains what a department has and needs. The roll-up may not quite do that, and I think you have a good point, Angie. Maybe I'll add a few columns next year that will help explain those revenue sources for everybody.
Yeah, Madam Chair, and
Vice Chair.
Commissioners, Madam Vice Chair, Commissioners. Yeah, thank you, Bill, for the explanation. And also, this is great because it's an overview. It is simplified, but also just like under clerk or recorder, I have, it's 3 departments really. It's the clerk. Well, it's kind of 4, because then I'm the registrar too, and birth and death, and then I have elections, and then I have county survey. So there's different departments under that umbrella of the clerk and recorder, and same goes for commissioners. It's not just the 3 commissioners. There's departments and different sects that fall under you as well. So this is very much an overview, and not necessarily all the various entities that fall underneath each elected official or necessarily even each department. But it is great for the visual learner to see what the expenditures are for each office. So there's those other details. And then I did want to just make one other point. I know the commissioners were very careful in deciding the COLA this year, and I did receive several emails as the clerk and recorder. We do share what COLAs are in other counties. That's the cost of living increase. The 3.5% increase across the board for COLA was typically what a lot of the counties went with, and we went with 2.5. And so the commissioners are being very cognizant of the budget as far as that goes, while trying to help our employees. And so I just wanted to make that statement that I have seen emails go back and forth with the clerks that a lot of counties went with 3.5. So we are being fiscally responsible there with that 2.5. I know that you picked up some of the insurance on that as well, so it could even out to that 3.5. But I just wanted to say that for the public to know that.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's all I have.
Madam Chair, if I could make one other comment to piggyback on what Angie just said. If you look at her budget in particular, she has tens of lines of detail on the expenditure sheet to break down elections and records and all that. I know in the sheriff's office, I think on their expenditure page, we have 162 lines of data. So if you think about 162 rows of data, and then across 4 quarters of a year for budget performance, and then historical information for 5 to 6 years, which both accurate and, actual and budget expenses. The detail is phenomenal, and this county should be complimented for its transparency in being able to show exactly what is needed, what is spent over time, and what the performance is on the budget. Not everybody can do that in a way that's semi-digestible, even for nerds like me. So, Angie, thank you, Angie, for the comments. Point well taken, and anything we can do to improve the documents as we go forward, I'm happy to entertain those.
Any other comments, questions during the public hearing section of the meeting? Any online?
No.
Any other public comments? I will close the public hearing and we will restart the commission meeting. Debbie Kelly, would you like to read the resolution? I know it's a bit of a long one.
But it's short enough. Some of them have been 3 pages.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
I'll
You're right.
take-
As soon as I
I'll
said
take
that, I've
this
seen
one.
worse. I've seen worse.
Yeah. So this will be resolution for 2025. A resolution adopting the final operating budget and setting appropriation authority for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026. Whereas Section 764030 MCA, Montana Codes Annotated, provides that the governing body shall adopt the final budget by resolution. The resolution must A. Authorize appropriations to defray the expenses or liabilities for the fiscal year. B. Establish legal spending limits at the level of detail in the resolution. And C. Include any increases in property taxes, including an increase authorized under Section 1510-420, subsection 1, and the amount by which property taxes will increase on homes valued at $100,000, $300,000, and $600,000. Whereas Section 764020 requires that a preliminary annual operating budget must be prepared for the local government. And whereas Section 764021 requires that the governing body shall cause a notice of public hearing on the preliminary or amended budget to be published. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners held a public hearing on June 18, 2025, where residents of the county were allowed to express their concerns about the proposed budget. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners has reviewed the proposed budget, received the estimated ending cash balances for all county funds, made changes to the budget as deemed necessary following the public hearings, and from input by elected officials and department heads, and computed the estimated taxes, fees, and assessments needed to fund the fiscal year 2025 budget. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Broadwater County that the final budget, after any amendments to the preliminary budget and after considering any public comment, is adopted. This resolution authorizes A. Appropriations to defray the expenses or liabilities for the fiscal year. B. It sets the legal spending limits at the county fund level. Fund level detail is stated in the formal budget document and established in the county's accounting system. C. An increase or decrease in property values due to MCA 1510-420 calculations for permissive levies and for voted levies on a home valued at the $100,000, $300,000, and $600,000 is included in this fiscal year budget. This effective date of this resolution is July 1st, 2025, even if the resolution is adopted after that date.
Thank you, Debbie. Bill, do you have any comments on the resolution?
I do not have any additional comments on the resolution.
Commissioner Rickmeyer, can you hear us? Are you still there?
Yep, I am here.
Do you have any comments on any of the budget items?
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts I just want to share. At first, I want to thank Bill for putting so much of this together in a way that, while yes, it is still, well, I can say budget nerd speak, which we all have become. It's much more digestible. It's easier to view. It's easier to understand. It might take a minute to sit down and go through. And of course, we have more detailed information always available to the public upon request if people really want to dig into it and see it. But I think there's, once we get some things out on the public view, if people are interested in the budget, they will be able to see this and just understand it a little bit more. I appreciate Angie's comments as well. Thank you. I think everybody's worked pretty diligently, especially over this past year, to have quarterly budget meetings, to stay on top of everything with our department heads, the other elected officials. There's just been a lot of work done to be, to be conservative, to work that expenditure budget versus a revenue budget, to really cut back where we can, where it's possible, and to be very transparent. I think that's been something we really tried to do better, so people understand where this money is going and how it's being spent. I do want to add on to, real quick, I'm sorry I won't belabor it too long. I do want to say, Broadwater County is very residential heavy, and as Bill had mentioned, it'd be great if we could get some bigger commercial businesses in here that don't necessarily have more demand on services, but could help contribute to getting those mills down and help the tax base out a little bit more. The legislature is going to be changing tax rates. We did put that in the newspaper last week, so there is an article there. The thing is I don't think our residents are going to see a big change in their taxes, and that is simply because we don't have a lot of other industries in our county to which we can shift that tax burden. So the legislature is changing the tax rates. Residential is going to go down, which is great, but the counties still gets the same amount of income. They're not going to all of a sudden cut our income just because commercial businesses and centrally assessed are going to be paying more in taxes. We don't have a lot of that, so I think our mills will probably go up, and people here, residents here, aren't going to see much of a change. And I understand legislature is trying to do what they can, but I think at this time it's just a matter of shifting that tax burden. So we need businesses. Again, just thank you for everybody who's been working really hard on budgets. And I do want to say, last thing, we really do support public safety. Obviously, as a parent in the Grafton Charge, they're getting over a third of our budget, and they say our budget, a third of the county floating mills. And we value their services, we value what they do, and we very much understand how important it is. So we 100% support them. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, may I make another point?
Of course.
I failed to make it, but it has to do with the fact that we use last year's values and last year's system of taxation in order to determine what our revenue is going to be. And it's going to be important this time, because we'll get to see what the effect is of all the tax changes before we actually use those tax dollars. So I think having that sureness of the numbers as of last August and September really works in our favor as the legislature changes things with tax rates, et cetera. So we're smart that way, and I think it'll pay off.
Bill, that was one of my comments I was going to make too, because not all counties do that. And I've noticed at the MACO board meeting and then in some travels I did this weekend, counties that don't do this are like, oh, that's a good idea, because so much of what they do is unknown until the very last minute. So we are on the cutting edge of that, and I think more and more counties are going to learn to do the timing of their budget the same time frame that we do it. Commissioner Swenson,
Madam
did you have?
Chair, I have.
Oh, go ahead.
One more thing, Madam Chair, if you don't mind.
Vice Chair. You're still the chair.
I know, especially if you're running the meeting, I think by default you're chair. But I think that something important too that's changing, and Bill, you had mentioned the county's taxable, like the rate of inflation that we're held to, that will change along with all levies moving forward that you see. So your levies will be in dollar amounts, and both levies and the county budgets are going to be held to a little bit different rate of inflation after they change tax rates. We will get a full 3-year average rate of inflation, but only up to 4%. It is capped at 4%, and we will not be able to collect 100% of newly taxable. It will be 75% of newly taxable and residential. So that's going to change. It'll be interesting, again, to your point, to see how that affects things after fiscal 26.
Thank you. Jesse, did you have anything, Commissioner?
Just kind of reiterate, just to appreciate all the work that went into this. I know Bill has been working relentlessly on it, and all the department heads that are working with him to get all these numbers and information so that Bill could put it into this more digestible document. And I really appreciate that, and the work that went into, I mean, it was, I don't want to call it a baby step, but because cutting a third of the cash reserve dependency from last year was a big step for us. And I think kind of if we can keep crawling away from that and keep cutting our dependency on having to pull from cash reserves, put ourselves into a better position year to year. So appreciate everybody and all the work that went into it and getting this together.
Thank you to Finance too. Bill, you've done a great job, but I know you could not have done what you are doing without our finance team, and Debbie Kelly and Michelle, you guys have been working relentlessly as well. So thank you so much.
I would echo those comments, and I'm crossing off my thoughts as you guys have got to most of them. So I thank you, and I just would agree with everything that's been said. I would just add to it, Broadwater County is very, as we've said, residential and ag based. Certainly bigger companies coming in would help us tremendously. The flip side of that is counties, there's probably a couple, but I'm aware of one that just lost a major employer. So they are cutting their entire, across the departments, I don't know all the details, but 20%. So it's good, but I guess my point is every county has its challenges. And I think we're in a really good position because we are being so conservative and very respectful of the taxpayer money. We recognize where the great majority of our funds come from, including if it is a grant funded, it's usually from the feds or the state. So it's still, at the bottom line, it's still taxpayer money. So that's all I have to add to it. Thank you very much, everyone. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I will move to approve the resolution to adopt the Broadwater County fiscal year 2025 and 2026 final annual budget.
I will second that.
There's a motion and a second to approve the resolution to adopt the Broadwater County fiscal year 2025-26 final annual budget. Any public comment? Any public comment online? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And I will repeat once again, we will be putting a lot of this online. It's easier to understand and digest the way that Bill and Debbie and Michelle have created it now. And certainly if anybody in the public has questions, call Debbie, Michelle, Bill, or us. But I do think the website presence will help so much.
Agreed. Thank you.
That's all we have on the agenda. We have some consent agenda items. Oh, we have some minutes also, and we have some claims. So, Consent agenda. First one we have is MOU between Montana Forest Collaboration Network, Montana Watershed Coordination Council, and Broadwater County for Big Elk Divide Restoration Committee support. What this is a pass-through. Big Elk Divide Restoration Committee got a grant. They needed somebody to pass it through, so it is taking staff time, certainly, Debbie and Michelle. But it's not any county funds being used for this. And this is so that Big Elk Divide Restoration has admin support and some money in there for traveling to conferences. So it is not any Broadwater County funds. I don't know if you have this or not. Oh, yeah, you do. Is there a motion?
I would move.
I move.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay. Hey, I'm trying to participate.
Right?
Right?
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between Montana Forest Collaboration Network, Montana Watershed Coordination Council, and Broadwater County for MCFN Collaborative Forest Management Support.
I will second that.
Any public comment on the MOU? Any public comment? All those in favor of approving the MOU, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you all. I will get that back to them today. We have two more things on consent agenda. The State of Montana Board of Crime Control awarded a grant to our Broadwater County's office, attorney's office. I'm going to read this. Federal amount awarded $21,000, pending federal amount. I think that is due to not sure what's happening at the federal level on many things. That amount is $52,730. State amount awarded $44,200, and no local matching. So there is a grant award for the Broadwater County Attorney's Office. Oh, I have a hard time saying Attorney's Office. And the total, if it is all awarded, is $117,930.
And I believe Commissioner Ranick goes to the victim and
Right,
Just
the
advocate.
victim.
Did you say that? You might have said that.
No, Broadwater County Victims Advocate.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
I would move to approve the grant from the State of Montana Board of Crime Control for the Broadwater County Victims Advocate in the amount of $117,930.
Is there a second?
I will second that. Yep.
Any public comment? Is there any public comment? All those in favor of the grant from the State of Montana Board of Crime Control signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And one more. This is a state-county cooperative fire protection agreement between the state of Montana and Broadwater County. It's a lot of fire talk, and it's basically saying the state and the county will work together for fire protection in this county. This is done on a semi-regular basis. Again, it's not dictating any money, it's just a workflow plan, basically.
Yep.
And we've all looked at that. I don't know if anybody has questions. Is there a motion?
I will move to approve the state-county cooperative fire protection agreement between the state of Montana and Broadwater County.
I will second that.
Any public comment? Any public comment on the fire agreement? There's a motion and a second to approve the state-county cooperative fire protection agreement between the state of Montana and Broadwater County. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Oops. We have minutes from June 25th.
I move to approve the minutes from June 25th.
I will second that.
Any public comment? Any public comment? Is there a motion? I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
And-
realized.
and a-
as soon
and a
as-
second.
And a second, yeah, as soon as I said that. Mhm. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you, Debbie, for stepping in and sharing today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yeah, it'll be noted in your permanent file that you owe me.
Yep.
And we have several claims today. The first one is $630,526.25. And because it's such a large claim, I will explain that is part of the airport construction project.
I move to approve the claims in the amount of $630,526.25.
I will second that.
Any public comment? Any public comment? There's a motion and a second to approve the claims in the set amount. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next set of claims is for $12,080.81.
Move to approve claims for $12,080.81.
I second that.
Any public comment? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, there's a motion and a second to approve the claims for set amount. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes. Next set of claims is $43,041.07.
I move to approve the claims in the amount of $43,041.07.
I will second that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I can do it. I can still do it. Any public comment? Is there any public comment on the claims? All those in favor of approving the claims in the set amount signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. The last set of claims is for $1,993 even.
You say that again.
Sorry, $1,993.
I move to approve claims for $1,993.
I second that.
Is there any public comment? Any public comment? There's a motion and a second to approve the claims for the set amount. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Just want to repeat that as of now, we don't have a commission meeting next week. If we do, we will post that at least 48 hours ahead of time. I don't think we will. And that I just jinxed it, didn't I? And then the next meeting, July 16th, will be at Headwaters. Anything else for the good of the order?
Happy 4th of July.
That's right.
Yes.
Happy 4th.
Let's not have any fires. Yay.
Yeah, thank you, Lindsay. Be very careful of the fireworks. Thank you for saying that. There was already a small fire south into the county, and last I heard it was due to fireworks. a couple days ago. So,
You're correct, it was, I saw the news article.
yeah, so be careful, but have fun. We'll adjourn at 8 after 11.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
I'm gonna
Thank
stay
you.
on for a minute, you guys.